Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the REDX podcast. Today we have something a little different. We are going to play a compilation of some of our favorite episodes of the podcast, talking about mindset and motivation. So just sit back, enjoy, and we will see you guys next week. We hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend.
We are fortunate to be joined today by Mr. Mike Simonsen, founder of Altos Research. So Mike, finally, fantastic to see you again, have you on the show. Welcome.
We hear this as business leaders and in real estate a lot. You make a plan and you work the plan and you know that discipline that you're talking about. For me, in my transition time, my crisis time, I couldn't just slap another sales plan in front of me because I didn't want to pick up the phone. I was not in a place where I wanted to work the plan. So what I observed is that most of those plans and sales plans and action plans, they're very focused on dopamine. Dopamine is our reward chemical. It's a hormone that happens. You set a goal and you hit a goal, you get dopamine. When you miss goals or you start worrying about what's going to happen, or you get in a stress mode, you get cortisol in the anger, and you can feel your heart accelerate, and you feel in the stomach, and cortisol.
Even thinking about it, I have to take a deep breath. All of a sudden, I felt this constriction.
Constriction, exactly. So very often in these planning modes, we get into this dopamine cortisol cycle. What I observed I needed was more serotonin. Serotonin is the experience of joy, of confidence, of inspiration. It's serotonin is self-actualization, that highest form of human achievement. And that's what was missing from my world. And so I had to focus on the things that would get me serotonin. Taking a moment to express gratitude, to be like, man, I'm so lucky that I get to do this call today. You do that, look, you got a smile come on.
Yeah, I felt that. Right? Thank you.
That was a boost of serotonin for you and for me. And so I have a principle that I call no coming and going, where you don't have to sit there. There's no inbound versus outbound happiness. There's no being loved versus giving love. There's only the level of the hormone. And therefore, I can say, I'm grateful to you, and we both get the serotonin boost, right? So that observation for me was the thing I had to do to my transition was to work on my serotonin. And actually, it's not, like I said, it's not just serotonin. There's four of the hormones that work into that superpower. The serotonin is the happiness chemical. Oxytocin is the love neurotransmitter. And so when I say, I love you, right? I am feeling oxytocin, you're feeling oxytocin. Well, it turns out that when we are high in oxytocin, we literally increase our capability to see more opportunities, like our creative problem-solving skills widen. And you can think about this too, when you're in the inverse state, when you're in the cortisol state, you're running from the lion. Like your body, your biology means focus on running from the lion, right? When you're in our modern world, our cortisol's I got to make a mortgage payment. I've got to I'm sitting in traffic. I'm watching the news of, the virus. Our cortisol's elevated all the time. And so what happened to me in my crisis is now my cortisol is elevating. My vision is narrowing. I close myself off to more opportunities. So I had to be very purposeful about my internal neurotransmitters. And when I was, all of a sudden, magic happens. And in my case, the opportunity, as you describe it, the magic that we see, we went from out of cash to our profit was 10 times higher than it had ever been just 1 year later. So 2018 was remarkable. It was a remarkable year of growth for the company, for myself. And we didn't change the team. We didn't change the product. We didn't change the pricing. I only changed inside myself. And so that's the hacking happiness story. So the first thing to keep in mind with serotonin is the no coming and going principle, right? It means that there is no inbound versus outbound. That means to build it inside me, I just have to give it to the people around me. Like, you are amazing. I love you, right? And when we do that, it builds it in ourselves. So for me with my team at Altos Research, I started doing those exercises more, and it feels super weird, right? Like, expressing love in a work environment is super like awkward. And I did it for my first year. I didn't tell them what I was doing. I just started doing more stuff, and all the magic happened. Then at the end of year one, then I was said, oh, by the way, we've just had this remarkable year. Let me share with you what's going on. And, we blew their minds. So we did, at the end of 2018, we did our strategic planning for the year for the company. And, what we did was I called it our serotonin strategy day. Mm-hmm. So normally you're like setting goals and action plans and, competitive things, and you're doing all these things. And we did none of that. We only set serotonin goals. How can I create joy for myself and for others every day? And so serotonin, because serotonin is joy, it is, so the way we build our serotonin, and because of the no coming and going principle, we do things like journaling. You write down your moments of joy. When you write them down, the brain has no ability to conceive of joy without using serotonin, right? So when I'm thinking about the joyful things, the process of thinking about it forces it up. So that's why if you start your day with a journal, like a gratitude journal, or like remembering your moments of joy, that boosts your serotonin, and it changes the entire arc of the day. The other element that we talk about a lot in Hacking Happiness is the cortisols. How do you adjust your cortisol? And cortisol is the negative, it's anger and fear. It's the stress hormone. It's fight or flight. So, and I tell this story in my talk, in the heart of my crisis, I have customers are canceling and I don't want to go to work. You get in that space, right? And like, everything's, and I get a voicemail from a longtime customer. Mike, call me. Like, oh man, I can't do it. I can't take another hit. Mike, call. I avoid him for weeks. And then finally I do a morning meditation. I get my cortisol down, do a journaling, my serotonin's up, I'm calling him. I pick up the phone and he's like, Mike, how do we add 100 agents to our account? Like, he wants to triple his business with me. But because I am in, we're in this dopamine cortisol cycle, we're fragile. We close ourselves to the opportunities of the world. So then when we open up the superpower, then all of a sudden, the phone rings, it's opportunity. When you're in cortisol mode, the phone rings and it's crisis. The superpower state is having your serotonin, your oxytocin, and your dopamine high and the cortisol low. And that's when all the opportunity kicks in. That's the superpower. And that is really as you called it, stability. And it opens up the opportunities. Like, all of success cascades in when we're in that state.
So welcome to the show, Kim. Good to see you again.
I'm so happy to see you and to be on your show. It's just absolutely a delight for me. So what are the thinking strategies of extraordinary leaders? People who have been through a ton of adversity, but have tended to go through it with greater ease. Okay, so when we look at extraordinary leaders, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, do you think they've never had any sense of adversity? They've had tons. But for whatever reason, maybe their shoulders are wider, they handle it more easily, right? So what is it about them that enables them to handle that kind of adversity with greater ease? So they look at things, they do three key things. Number one is that they always challenge their beliefs. What does that mean? It means they ask themselves a critical question. Where am I stuck? What is it that's causing me to see this world this way? And more specifically, what do I believe to be true about this problem? What do I believe to be true about this person, this sale, this opportunity, this house? What do I believe to be true? And are those beliefs actually true? Right? And what we find is we often invent beliefs that aren't necessarily true. And so strategy number one is extraordinary leaders always ask themselves, what do I believe to be true about this? And are those beliefs in fact accurate? And do they support my goals? So that's number one. Number two, extraordinary leaders are incredibly resourceful. Again, there's no light that's turning off here, but these leaders think about resources very differently than the rest of the population. Their attitude around beliefs is that anything is accessible to me, right? There is no shortage of any talent. There's no shortage of money. There's no shortage of resources. And I am entitled to have access to any one of them. So normally when we talk to people and we say, hey, why don't you start a new business? Just as an example, or why don't you go into real estate? Or why don't you, what's a knee-jerk reaction we often hear? I don't have the money. I can't do it. I have kids to take care of. I don't have the experience. Not good at math, right? All those things, right? And so these leaders don't think that way. They think anything is possible and any resource is accessible to me. Number three, extraordinary leaders focus on what they really, really want, like with blinders on, right? Like they're laser sharp, laser focused. They know what they want and they do not get distracted, right? So if what they want is to be in great shape and there's a party and there's alcohol and a ton of food, they say, no, thank you. And it's easy for them because they are crystal clear about what they want. Do you mind if I give your audience a little bit of a challenge? Is that cool?
I was about to ask, yes.
Okay, so take a piece of paper and a pen and write down these questions. What is it that I really, really want more than anything? So question number one, what do I really, really want? And I put two reallys there on purpose. Why? Because I want you to think about what you truly deeply want, not what is expected of you, not what you should want, not what your spouse wants, not what your mother wants, what you truly deeply in your heart really, really want. The second question is, so what's slowing you down? Why don't you have right now what it is that you really, really want? What's getting in the way? And write down all the reasons that you don't currently have what you want. All the list of things that you have written down are all your beliefs. So I invite anybody who's listening to actually take the time and respond to these two questions as though it were your own journal. Top performers have a far higher degree of emotional resilience than other people. So as I say this, it's like, okay, maybe not brain surgery, right? Like not a big revelation, but let's take a moment and really understand this whole idea of emotional resilience. What is it? Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity after a fall or after something bad has happened with speed and agility and leverage the adversity. So bad stuff happens. You fall. We all fall. The question is, how long do we stay down? And when we get up, what do we do with the experience we just had? How do we turn it into an advantage? And so what I discovered way back then is that not everybody has the same degree of emotional resilience. Some people are born with a higher degree of emotional resilience, but also some people can be taught to build their emotional resilience. Just like you can build your abs, you can build your emotional resilience. It's really about interpretation. It's really about perspective. So when something happens, anything happens, it's just an event. And the meaning we assign to that event will determine how we feel about it. So when we assign negative meaning, we feel bad. So, we had, let's say, a person who was interested in purchasing a house, and then they changed their mind. And so the meaning that we might assign to it is, okay, it's just one other person. I'll just go on to the next one. Another kind of meaning is my life sucks. They always slip through my hands. I can never catch a break. Two different meanings, same event, right? And so the meaning we assign to the events that take place are a reflection of our emotional resilience. But we can teach people to assign new meanings that are more useful, meanings that are more aligned with where I want to go. So if I believe that this event that took place is a reflection that I'm not experienced, that I'm out of luck, that I'm, never going to make it in life, that interpretation slows me down. It gets in my way for the next opportunity. In fact, what it does is it closes the door of opportunity. You wanted to talk about opportunity, right? So if that's the way I see the world, then my vision narrows and I'm not even able to see opportunity in front of me.
I'm joined by Joe Rosen. Joe, thanks for being with us again here on the podcast.
It's my pleasure, man. I love REDX, so anything I can do to help the community. How many follow-ups do you need to make on average to actually get a deal done, right? So when you look at the deals that actually get done, how many times did you have to contact them before it happened? And it was 7 point something, right? Mm-hmm. So for some, you might need to contact them 15, 20 times. For some, it's once or twice, but on average, it's 7 something. But they say the average realtor will follow up 1.5 times, okay? Now, I might not be remembering these numbers 100% correctly, but they're pretty doggone close. So what you're seeing is a huge disparity between what you need to do and what they're actually doing. And I think if you want to look at lead gen, people get frustrated with lead generation. I got to put in time. I got to make the call. I got to get rejected. All these negative things that are associated with it. But I'll tell you, if you're only following up 1.5 times, I can see why you're frustrated. I'd be frustrated too. You have to add that element. And I think it's really important to separate lead gen and follow-up into 2 different time blocks of your day, which, my gosh, I just said like 17 things. Blocking off your time is absolutely critical. If you just wake up and you show up to work sometime between 8 and 9 o'clock and you just start making calls until you get bored, and then maybe I'll go into my CRM and make some follow-up calls, it's never going to happen. My whole day is filled with people getting in touch with me in ways that I wasn't planning for, at times I wasn't planning for, wanting me to get back to them in ways and times that I haven't planned for. So you need to have as much structure to your time as you can. And once you block that off, the first 2 things for me that are absolutely critical is CRM time and new lead generation time. And they should be appointments. And I can't tell you how often people will say, well, I haven't made calls because this popped up, or I haven't made follow-ups because that popped up. Are you going to say no to a listing appointment because something pops up? No, you're not. You're going to go. You need to go make your calls, and you need to go follow up through your CRM, because that is the lifeblood of everything that you have. And if you let that go, your whole business is slow for the next 90 days. I've been wanting to watch The Last Dance forever. And I'm so busy, I don't have time to figure out which subscription I have to get it. And I kind of forgot about it, and I noticed it popped up on Netflix last night, and I watched 2 episodes, and boom, I shut off the TV. I went to bed a half an hour early. I woke up a half an hour early, and I got to work. And all day I've been thinking, I'm the Michael Jordan of real estate. I'm the Michael Jordan and I'm just like, I don't care what anybody says. I am out to crush it. And that's how I felt all day long. And I guarantee that's going to last 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Maybe it'll last a week or 2. Right. That's motivation. Motivation is me coming in and yelling at you and firing you up. Tony Robbins giving you a big rah-rah speech with fire behind him. And that's motivation, right? Motivation dies out. It's fun. It's awesome. It feels good. It's interesting, but it dies out every single time. I don't care who you are. It dies out. Discipline is you being mature enough to know it's going to die out. And when it does die out, you still do the thing you know you need to do to be successful. That is what's important. So I think so many people I'll talk about a team. I attract a lot of people because of the energy I have on my team. I attract a lot of people who aren't motivated, and they look at me as the magic pill. And I tell them, listen, that's not why you're coming on this team, because it's not going to happen. I'll make you successful for a month, but after a while, you're going to get sick of me yelling and, get to this and do this. And pretty soon you're just going to be annoyed, because if you don't want to do it yourself, you're not going to like me telling you have to do it. And I'm not your boss. I'm the team leader, but it's your business. So you have to want to do it when you don't necessarily feel like doing it, or it's not going to matter anyway. So for me, discipline, again, it goes back to maturity, right? Like everybody can do it when they're motivated. You need to do it at whatever your minimum standard is every single time, whether you want to do it or not. And every single thing we do, there's policies and procedures. There's a way to do it. And it doesn't matter if it's the most efficient way. It matters that we're all doing it the same way, so there's no questions asked. Once that happens over a period of time, you just get used to it. I mean, you and me both, right? We have different habits that we implement into our day so we can be more efficient. We can be more productive. We can communicate better, whatever it is. At first, it sucks. You got to think about it. You're probably failing a couple times here and there. You're doing it wrong. You're not efficient. You have to keep doing it over and over and over and over and over. And after about 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's just, that's how my day goes. That's who I am. It becomes a habit. It becomes discipline. But you have to stick with it through that. I'm making up 3, 4, 5 weeks, but whatever that period of time is, you've got to have the mental capacity and the maturity to say, I'm going to stick with it no matter what, so that I know I get that end goal, which is the ease of this particular habit. So everybody who comes into our CRM, we give them a stage, right? And that stage, basically, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but it lets you quickly think, how interested are they in making a move right now, right? So I'm making these up off the cuff here, but I think active client is, we follow up with them literally every day, and it's a call every single day. Now, if they don't like calling and everything else, and they're like, hey, would you please text me? Sure, we'll text you, right? Whatever you want. But it's a call first unless you tell us otherwise. And I think that's critical. Then it's called a short-term nurture. It's once a week. We've got a long-term nurture. It's once a month. And then it's called a prospect, which you don't have a timeline. So we get in touch with them every 3 months. And it's email or text, email or text, email or text. And then after 12 months, it's a phone call, right? Because you have to get that voice to voice. And then we've got unresponsive. I'll even put people, if I call people and they're like, Joe, go screw yourself. Awesome. I add them to my CRM and I put them as unresponsive. So if they ever in the future are like, you know what, that big bald-headed idiot can sell me a house, fine. When they call me back, I've got all their information up and I can see when I call them, all their house information, all that good stuff. So I think it's important to, and I was taught this, I didn't come up with this. Think of your market as, son of a gun, why is it not in my CRM yet? And every interaction you have with anybody, you're just putting them in there. Lender, put them in there. Inspector, put them in there. Buyer, put them in there. Your family member, put them in there. Everybody needs to be in your doggone CRM. And that is the hub where everything comes out of. But yeah, for me, it's really dependent upon when I think they're going to pull the trigger. And you can make up, is it going to be a week? Is it going to be 7 days? Is it going to be 6 days? Is it going to be 14 days? And I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer there, but you've got to add a lot of voice. It's got to be voice heavy. Yeah, I've got active and hot. Hot is they're doing something in the next 30 days. Active is if it's a buyer, we're actually out looking at houses.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
Like, all I got to do is find them the house. They're going to pull the trigger. And if it's a seller, they're ready to sign right now. They're just waiting on me. I just need to get the photographer in there. They're waiting on me. I'm the problem, not them. That is active. Yeah. Hot is they're going to do something in the next 30 days.
So then let's move to the short term and the long term. Short term, you said you're reaching out to them once a week. The long term, I think you said once a month. So let's talk about the short term people. How does that follow up? What does that look like? You'd mentioned you like to be voice heavy. Is that true in these short term prospects where you're reaching out once a week? Yeah. Or are you using different methods also?
It's email or text, and then it's a call. Email, text, then a call. Email, text, then a call. With the long terms, it's the same thing. It's only the prospects that are email, text 3 times, and then it's a call on the 4th time, right? Because it gets to be burdensome. Like once your funnel gets big enough, if you're doing what I'm suggesting, which is being call heavy, you're making a ton of phone calls, and that's on top of your cold calls.
Right.
So you do have to find that sweet spot of where you're going to be efficient, right? And if I do start to have so many people, right, these are warm leads in my funnel, I will reduce the amount of voice that I'm doing. I'll change those action plans and make them a little bit more efficient. I'll reduce the voice. It's not because I want to, it's because I want to stay in front of all of those great leads, right? But it's really important to have your system, and your system, like, listen, my system's going to change in 6 months. Like I said, if I get so many people in there, I can't keep up, I'm going to have to do less voice, or I'm going to have to build a bigger team. I'm going to have to do something, but just really focus on trying to be as heavy voice as you can.
Today we have an awesome guest. We have Knolly Williams. Hey, Knolly.
What's up, Haley? How we doing?
Doing good. Welcome. So excited to have you on today.
So with the 5 actions, number 1 is really to shift your mindset. But I always tell people, you've got, who's your number 1 best friend when it comes to reaching your goals? It's really you. You help yourself. And then who's your number 1 enemy when it comes against you to reaching your goals? And it's yourself again, right? So what I want you to think about is, are you living your highest and best life? Like we always tell people, hey, make your highest and best offer.
Yeah.
And do you have the highest and best offer? Are you making the highest and best choices? Are you living the highest and best life that you possibly could live? And if the answer is maybe not, or maybe the answer is no, then that means that you have an opportunity to reprogram. See, it really is true. We've got to reprogram and change the way we think. And the cool thing is we can do it, and it's not hard. It's not hard at all. And it doesn't cost any money. It's free. Number 2, focus on listings. Okay, write that down. Focus on listings. And it should be something that you wouldn't even have to need to say. But honestly, so many agents, they're like, oh, I'm gonna focus on buyers first, and when I've done enough buyers, then I'll do listings. See, I came right out of real estate school, wet behind the ears, and I focused on listings from the very beginning. Why? Because I read a book called Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. Okay, and it said focus on listings. So I said, okay, well, that's what I'll do. And I believed that I could do it. See, the only difference between a successful listing agent and one that is not successful is fear. Because the agents that don't go after the listing, I talk to them all the time. Oh, I like working with buyers. Oh, I want to do. Well, the reality is my personality profile, I'm a lead buyer specialist by profile. But I know that I can work 3 times the number of listings in the same amount of time. So why wouldn't I focus on listings? It doesn't make sense, right?
Work harder, work smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly. So focus on listings. So what I want to do for number 3 is I want to share my top 7 niches that I think you want to focus on over the next 18 to 24 months. I'm going to rattle them off quick.
Okay, I'm ready.
Number 1, pre-NODs. Okay. And back in the day, we used to work NODs, what we call notice of defaults. But now I like to work pre-NODs. So as soon as that person misses a payment, I want to know about it. So that's the pre-NODs. Number 2 is old expireds. Okay. Old expireds. That is the hottest segment of the market, in my opinion, right now going. Old expireds. Number 3, your own sphere of influence. A lot of people, Haley, are afraid to call their own people. They're like, well, what do I tell them? It's like, just call them and ask them how they're doing. Hey, how are you doing? The listing that I took yesterday from the gal whose daughter helped me get in the business, Josie, my wife, just picked up the phone and said, hey, Martha, how are you doing? You doing okay? She's 85 years old. Are you? Well, I tell you what, I need to sell my house. Oh, you do? Well, we can help with that. Number 4 is probate. Probate, great niche. Number 5, divorce. I just picked up a probate listing today, by the way.
Hey.
Probates, I do those all the time. 5 is divorce. That's number 5. Haley, unfortunately, a lot of people just aren't going to make it through this thing. You know, being at home with somebody all the time, it can go either way, right? It's like, oh, we love being around each other, or, you know, maybe
You're
not.
driving me crazy, yeah.
So I think divorce is going to be, that's my number 5 pick. Number 6 is a buyer niche, and that's going to be new home construction. That's going to be real hot because there's going to be an emergence of what we call affordable housing. It's not what you and I would think of as affordable housing. We're talking $300,000 or $400,000 homes, but that's now the new affordable for the person that had the 800, and they want certain amenities. They don't want to lose certain amenities. So I believe that these new home communities are going to kind of burgeon. And then number 7 is renters to homeowners. Okay, people that are renting and they're going through this and they're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? You know, I need to take stock of what I'm doing here. You know, and they're going to transition. But you're going to see a lot of creative things like that. So that's my top 7. Okay, so the next one is what I call do the 2.
Do the 2.
From 9 to 11, you go into your lead generation bunker. You close the door, and you are not disturbed. You can take a potty break. Once an hour, Uncle Knolly will let you take a potty break. That's it. But you take everything in there with you. Whether if you have a smoothie, like I got a smoothie right here. You see that? We're about to go down on this bad boy here in a little bit.
There you go.
And then I got some coconut water right here, and then I got another little bottle of water over there. Snacks, you got coffee, whatever you want. Take it into your lead generation bunker, because your subconscious mind will always find a reason for you to get up and go do something else. Hey, did you check on that? Did you pay that bill? Is that such and such? No. Now, when you're doing the 2, you're only permitted to do 3 activities. Okay. People ask me this all the time, so write it down. Very important. You can generate new seller prospects. Okay. Now, remember, I teach listings. You can modify this for buyers if you want to focus on buyers. But number 1, generate new seller prospects. Number 2, follow up with existing seller prospects. And number 3, develop and implement marketing plans. That's it. Okay. And the third one, where you're developing and implementing marketing plans, that should only be about 15% of your time. The time is either going to be generating new leads or following up with existing leads. You want to get yourself and your family out of feast or famine, start doing the 2 every single day. From 9 to 11, do purpose-driven lead generation activities and never take your foot off the lead generation pedal. And so number 5, the last one, is the teachability index. Okay, and what I would say is upgrade your teachability index. Number 5, upgrade your teachability index. So what I want you to do is write down what is my willingness to learn. Okay. What is my willingness to learn?
Of like 1 to 10, or?
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. So 1 means I'm not going to do anything you say. Haley, I don't care what you say, I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
And 10 is like, oh, I need to move to Miami. I'll get my ticket, and I'll have my house packed up in a month. Okay. That's commitment. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your willingness to learn? Okay. So now, what's your willingness to accept change? That's the second one. Willingness to accept change. So think about this for a minute. A scale of 1 means I'm not changing anything, and 10 means I'll change anything you ask me to do immediately, like right now, right today. I'll change it. You know, what is your willingness to accept change? And I test agents with this all the time, and they're like, oh, you want me to do that? No, I can't do that. So this is what we call your teachability index. So let's say, for example, somebody is an 8 willingness to learn and an 8 willingness to accept change. Okay. So what you do is you do 8 times 8. That person is 64% teachable. Not bad, not terrible, but 64% teachable. Now, if a person is a 10 and a 10, they are 100% teachable. And what people have to understand is, so the goal is always to get yourself to a 10 and a 10. Okay. Right. Because if you're a 5 and a 5, you know you're only 25% teachable. Ooh. Even if you're a 9 and a 9, you're only 81% teachable. Okay. And because people come to me all the time, they're like, man, Knolly, you've done all this stuff. You write books, you speak on stage, you're on YouTube, you're over here, you do that. You coach agents, you've got products, you know, I want to learn how to do all that. Well, if you want me to be your mentor and you're going to be the apprentice, you have to have your teachability index has to be very high in order for me to invest that kind of a time. But your teachability index has to be as high as you can get it in order for you to become teachable and in order for you to improve and have the kind of life that you say you want. So that's number 5, is work on upgrading your teachability index.
Today with me, I have from Dallas, Texas, Tammy Slay. Tammy, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate it. So top 1, absolutely your foundational value. You got to have a culture.
Okay.
You do. Every single agent is building a brand for themselves or they're working on a brand for their team, but you have to have a culture. Number 1, hands down. You got to know why you're waking up in the morning. So that big why, those values, those mission statement, that's number 1. Number 2 is learning your magic number. And everybody has a magic number. It's their conversion number. Yeah.
What is this third thing that agents can't live without?
Making the call. Some of those basics that many agents don't even start with, myself included, and I made the mistake, is not having a business plan, not knowing your why. Why are you getting out of bed? Why are you going to the office? Why are you even showing a home? When you truly know your why, it motivates you to have those uncomfortable conversations. It motivates you to get out there and to push yourself. Also in the business planning, do you have core values? Do you have a mission statement? We have one as a company, but then our individual agents and our admin staff, they all have an individual mission statement and core value as well. When you really know those, your mission and your core values, 1, it helps you to articulate why you're even in the business. When you're going on a listing presentation, for myself, our mission statement as a company is for everyone we interact with to feel significant. So when I'm sitting down at a table at a listing presentation and I bring that up and say, this is our goal. This is what we develop our systems on, our workflows. I'm here with you. I'm not on my phone. And I tell them my mission. There's a emotional connection there. So I would say that the seasoned agents have probably, the majority of them, spent a lot of time developing technical and transactional habits and not really digging into why they're even in business. Once you have those foundationals of the business plan and your strategic plan and your values and your mission, that's a business. And you see that? I'm not working a job. I just created a personal business for myself. Everybody has a magic number. It's their conversion number. How many points does it take for you to get a closing? How many points does it take for you to hit an appointment? How many points does it take for you to sign an agreement? How many points does it take to, get to the closing table? Everybody's got one. And when you track your numbers, and we talk a lot about tracking in the course, and we do it from day 1, you're tracking your daily money-making activities every day, as well as tracking your 30-minute blocks of your daily activity. So what are you spending your time on? What are you doing that has a point value that we assign to it? And then when you get to the end of the 3 months and we're looking at your business from high up, we're able to know that for Tammy Slay, it's 240 points to a closing. For Tammy Slay to get a listing agreement from a FSBO, it's this many points. For Tammy Slay to get a buyer rep agreement, it's this many points. So how many points does it take for me to set an appointment with a FSBO? When I know that, when I know the number of calls it takes for me to set an appointment with a FSBO, and I know that in order for me to hit 24 closings in a year, you following?
Yeah.
So for me to hit 24 closings in the year from a FSBO, I need to set maybe 36 appointments.
Gotcha.
All right. So when I know I need to set 36 appointments, how many phone calls do I break that down in a week to break down in a day? So for any agent, seasoned, brand new, no matter where you at, when you know your magic number, you control your business. making the call. Just that. Making the call. We end every course. You know, if I were sitting here and Tyler, you were my course, and let's say there's 5 Tylers in my course right now, and I go, Tyler, what you gonna do this week? You're gonna say, make the call. And I'm going, yeah, you are. At Tyler number 2, what are you gonna do this week?
Make the call.
Make the call. That's it. So the third thing is you have to make the call. And when you understand that, then you're going to be making calls. There's a lot of people in this industry, even those that are seasoned and organic, that are scared of making a phone call. They will spend, like, their conversion rate is probably like 800 points because they're just emailing people. They're not making phone calls. Or they're in some massive drip campaign that they've invested a ton of money in over years, and they're just sitting on their shelf waiting for that drip campaign to generate, and they're not making the call. When you truly understand our business, it's not a people business. It's not a relationship business. Those are tools we use and ways we get there, but it's a lead generation business. So when you truly understand we are about building leads and generating leads, you can't have a relationship with the buyer if you didn't get a lead. You got to have the lead. And in order to do that, you got to make the call. So the first, absolutely, the business planning with the culture. Second is know your magic number. And then the third is you got to make that call.